Hey guys, today we're going to be looking at another reboxed kit, this time of Platz reboxing Tamiya's M3 Lee kit for girls and Panzers. Let's go ahead and open her up. So right away you can tell it's typical Tamiya quality. All the moldings are nicely cast, details are fine, and overall it's a well done casting. One issue I do have is that at least on the anime's version, you'll need to remove this little thing here, and it even mentions it in the instructions, but that unfortunately is going to be really difficult just to get in there and get a clean cut. Moving on to the lower hole, again, to me is casting quality. Unlike the M4 kit, there's no battery compartment, so obviously not going to be able to motorize it, but overall does a great job representing the lower hole on the M3. Next up, we've got our equipment sprue, as well as hatches and mantles for a couple of the guns. Excuse me. And the gun, the Lord 75mm gun. Again, parts breakdown is pretty basic. Not a whole lot to really say. A lot of the parts are actually the same as the M4 kit's parts, albeit, in a different color and on a different sprue. They didn't reuse the same sprue, even though if they had planned it a little better, they probably could have, but I digress. Overall, the mantle for the big 75 brace is a single inner two main parts, an inner and an outer, which will allow you to position the gun after you assemble it. Carrying on, next up we've got our turret as well as some of the panel pieces. On my copy of the turret, at least, does have a bit of a nasty mold line here. Hopefully it will somewhat come out on camera, but which I find a little odd because I've yet to see something like that on a Tamiya kit, but something to look out for. You are given one little figure, but it's not appropriate for the subject matter. A couple other odds and end parts, as well as the exhaust and the 37mm gun parts. Last up, as far as the plastic sprues go, is our suspension. This sprue, in fact, is actually identical to the one that's in the M4 kit, as no. The M3, the M4 used the older M3 suspension chassis so as to save on development time and cost. Next up, we've got our treads. Overall, they're pretty decent. They do have some nasty sink marks on a lot of the pads, though, so that's going to take a little bit of cleaning up in order to look right. Other than that, they're pretty nice, typical rubber tracks. Moving on to the decal sheet, if I can pick it up. You have decals for two different versions, the competition version and the initial sort of found version. The pink version, which is on the box, has no decals. So that's something to be aware of if you're looking at this kit, as if you want to build that version, since there are no decals specific to that version, you, in all honesty, could probably pick up any M3 kit and just sort of go from there. So, continuing on to the instruction sheet, we have the usual little comic on front. Assembly is similar to the M4s, albeit mainly again in the suspension area, but the back panel with the exhaust is different, as well as the the front fenders are a little different as well. After that, though, there's no commonality. Everything's going to be its own sort of unique to this kit's build. Overall, the build structure is pretty straightforward. Obviously, there's a lot that you're going to need to do. One thing I don't like about these instruction sheets is they really almost have a dot matrix like print effect, which tells you how old I am. The fact that I even know what a dot matrix printer is, yet let alone actually used one long time ago. But overall, it differs from the quality of instructions. It makes it a little harder to see and make out. As far as any potential gotchas in assembly, I don't see any, other than making sure you do pin and cut off all the little parts that need to get cut off. Now, as I said, you have three potential marking options. Obviously, pink box art. Again, you don't need anything special out of this kit. You could just build it with any M3 kit. Now, the other two, the sort of found version and competition version, do use their own decals. So if you want to build either of those versions, this kit is your only sort of bet. So overall, I do find it a little interesting that, if I can get this back on, I do find that, obviously, if you want to build the pink version, the fact that they really didn't give you information on the fact that you really don't need to buy this particular boxing is a little sad. But obviously, if you want to build the other two versions, you will have to go with this version of the kit. Other than that, I would say definitely look into it if you're a fan of grills and panzers. If you just want to build an oddball M3, go ahead. If you want to do the pink one, I would say skip this boxing and look for another M3 kit on sale. I would say it's not worth spending anything extra, since you're not really going to get anything different. So that was a look at Platz's reboxing of Tamiya's M3 Elite kit in 1/35 scale. Until next time.